Heritage Sports. We're here to break down Coach Prime on Amazon Prime, episode 3. It was a great one. It starts with my favorite song. I almost started each and every day. Who is SWAC? Baby, I am. It was a fantastic just just remix. I love listening to it. I'll get to it a little bit later, but the episode 3 just jumps at the disrespect that Prime claimed that he got from Coach Prime claimed that he got from Alabama State players. He walked around the field and the players were talking noise to him. To of course, the bro hug beef at the end with Coach Eddie Robinson Jr. I think I really see both sides of the argument. I really do. I feel like Eddie Robinson Jr., Coach Robinson, was within his right to say, look, we don't know each other like that. Let's just give a handshake and that's it. I had no problem with him saying these are my boundaries with Coach Prime. Say, look, Deion, great game, just a handshake. You want more? I don't know you like that. Totally okay, totally understandable about it. But as covered in the the show, Deion was like, "Hey, bruh, who you calling not swag?" And that was Eddie Robinson's big problem to me. Like you got on the mic after the game saying the things that what haters say, and that's kind of what they said later on in the episode. He said that he was swag. Coach Prime wasn't swag, and that he's basically a pretender. He also said what was not covered in that doc. He also said Coach Robinson said to Deion, "I hope you don't get a Power Five job." Now I get that he wants to play Coach Prime the next year to get another crack at him or get another crack at Jackson State, but that was completely unacceptable. You don't say that kind of things. You know how hard a Power Five job is to get, especially as a black head coach, and to say that about another um, black head coach, and you know how hard it is, whether you think he's swag or not. That's not something you say. And then, yeah, by the way, you don't say someone who's like not swag and who's not. Who made you the judge of swag? I get you may have family ties to it. He played at a HBCU. Completely understand that, but the fact of the matter is the man coaching. But anyway, let me get back to the episode. So then they go into the Who is Swag merch and the material. That was great. Then the videos and the remix, which I went through. And by the way, I apologize. This is just how the series goes. It goes quick hits. It goes from one thing to the next, one thing to the next. It's very much like Coach Prime's persona or everyday life. It's on to the next thing, on to the next thing. Let's go back to this. Let's go back to that. So they do that. As you know, Jackson State wins that game. Then they go right into the homecoming week, and they spend a lot of time on Jackson State's homecoming, which I thought was great. They played Campbell University, and I gotta Google where Campbell is. Forgive me, but they were a fantastic team, and they were really worried about playing them that week. You could tell just preparation, playing college football. When you knew that you had a dogfight in front of you, everything was more detailed, everything was more turned up, and that's what you saw. But it was super cool to see my boy, the reporter Rob J. He made his appearance, and it was um, a lot of different reporters at the time going over what transpired last week. One thing I did write down, they said about Coach Robinson, they were like, where else are you hating if you hating another black man? I thought that was so funny. Then there was a Travis Hunter sighting, but then they went right back into the HBCU homecoming. Again, it jumped around. They, it was the first game back for Travis Hunter. He was finally full go from his injury. You could see him going through physical therapy and them basically working on his ankle and stuff, and you could see the scar on it. But he was back to himself. He started practicing, and he had superb route running. Things I have not seen up close was his route running, like from the back of the receiver or the back of the cornerback, seeing how the route is set up. It was superb for a freshman. I've never seen that for a freshman. There've been a lot of great freshman wide receivers out there, I'm sure, but I've never seen that. It was very just it was elite. Then Jackson State jumps into the origins of HBCUs, how they started, and as many of you all may know, may not know, HBCU started as a post-slavery institution. They needed a place where black folks can go and get educated because they were not allowed to go into PWIs, which are predominantly white institutions. So they go they basically set up the stage on why homecoming is important because they compare it to PWIs, which may not have as much emphasis on homecoming as HBCUs because of the disparities and because of the things that HBCUs had to go through just to get established and to get out in the world, in a world that was not as diverse, in a world that was way more segregated, and discrimination was way more direct. So they say how much they mean to the HBCUs, the homecoming, and why it's a big deal. They cover the frats, they cover the sonic boom. It was great to see, bands really taking detailed and a lot of just focus on what they do. They were up at night working on formations, and they were just a great ambassador of Jackson State University and showing the type of preparation that went into every week, not just homecoming, but every week for them. I will say at this point, it was more of a background episode. There wasn't a lot of team stuff for about 20 minutes, but we saw a lot of screen time for Coach TC. It was great to see him. This is the first time where he got a chance to speak, and it wasn't just a quick thing. It was him talking about different things, and it was great to see the new head coach of Jackson State University. And as we covered in this channel before, he's an alum, a great player for Jackson State, and I think he was the right person at the right time. Then they jump to the next day in homecoming, which is covered by Good Morning America. And who's there? Michael Strahan. And as you may know, Michael Strahan is producing this particular series for Amazon Prime, which was cool, but it was good to see him in that atmosphere. And it wasn't foreign because Michael Strahan is a HBCU alum. He went to Texas Southern, where he then went on to the NFL. And Mike said he had never been. He said what Coach Prime has done has never been done before. This kind of access and this kind of activity and this kind of attention has never been done before. GMA went live on location at Jackson State. Now, don't get me wrong, Michael Strahan probably had a vested interest in making sure he was there, but it was still good to get the eyes on HBCUs and everyone was out there, from the students to the players, the cheerleaders, the band, alums. It was just a great time. Then they just up and went to Children's Hospital, and it was great because it was a good visit, not only helping kids and showing people how good their life really is, especially if they're able-bodied, how great your life is in comparison. And Coach Prime then, tied it into what he went through last year and how he talked about his own adversity and how this connects him back to last year and how he loves to give back. It was some great babies in that part of the series, and I just pray and hope the best for them. There was so much love and so much hope in their eyes, and it just really, really was well placed. Then they go to the kicker, Matta, my man. He is. They talk about his journey between his parents and how he was in Honduras, and then he moved to Brazil, and from Brazil, his dad's company up and moved to Georgia, which is absolutely a culture shock. I couldn't even imagine. Yeah, I'm gonna go from Brazil to Georgia. It was like, yo, this is crazy. But once he got to Georgia, he realized that soccer wasn't the predominant sport. It was football, and then the coaches started having him kick. He met Coach Prime, and one of the reasons why I wanted to highlight him, because not only did he follow Coach Prime to Jackson State, he now followed him to Boulder. So he is now Colorado Buffalo. I'm sure he's going to be competing for a spot. But it was interesting to follow him around for homecoming. Him and his friend saw a step show for the first time. Was so funny. He was so shocked at what was going on. He was like, "What?" And for me, it was just so normal. You know, you've been in so many step shows. It's not a big surprise, but for him, it was his face was illuminated. He was like, "What?" So that was pretty funny. Let's see. It was funny. So the up until the day before the game, there are all these homecoming activities. We have our first Shedeur Sanders sighting. He's sliding through the festivities in Jackson, taking pictures and everything, and then up and behold, Coach Prime is coming down the little, I don't know if it's atrium or whatever they want to call it, their little space, and he's in his little cart and he sees Shedeur. It's so funny. Coach Deion got out of his little cart, snatched Shedeur, and said, "Hey man, you can't be out here for these homecoming activities." First thing out of his mouth was like, "Man, Dad, I know, bro. I'm going. I'm going." But it all worked out. I will say, Shiloh was noticeably absent throughout the first three episodes. I think that's going to change in the fourth, but I just kept wondering where's Shiloh, and I think we're up for a surprise in the last episode. But from there, it goes straight to Snoop. Snoop makes an appearance, and what I love about Snoop's appearance on the series was it was a star to star comparison. You could tell that they knew each other very well. They were close, but they understand each other. Snoop is a music superstar, and he loves to coach football, but he's not at Coach Prime's level, and vice versa. Coach Prime is a fantastic Hall of Fame football player, done really well in the football realm, and is now coaching at a high level. And he dabbled in music. Must be the money. So they kind of have a yin and yang kind of relationship, and you could tell just they're peers, and it was much love for that peer to come down to Jackson, and all the players loved Snoop when he came in the locker room, and they were really connecting with him before the game and excited for him before the game. Then it was time for it. Homecoming finally kicked off. They ran out the paper route tunnel. Shout out to Dolph. And it was actually a difficult game. Like they said, it was a dogfight. Our boy Matta that we just talked about, he hit three field goals. It was 9-6. Jackson was up against Campbell. Then the Sonic Boom came out and represented. At this point, I had to make this note. It was these are the best sports cameras I've ever seen. At this point, if you ever get a chance to watch Coach Prime the series, this is the point where you should. The cameras for this game, the way they covered this game was unbelievable. It was very much movie quality. It was incredible field shots. They spent some money on those cameras, and it was just so super clear. And I was blown away. I was like, dang, why can't they use these cameras all the time? So they come back. The second half starts. Shedeur actually throws the rare interception. He doesn't throw a lot of interceptions, though. That was incredible to see. But Jackson State overcomes. They're in an undefeated season. They win 22-14, but it was a really close game. Now, who is SWAC? If I ain't SWAC, that was super funny. They went over that again. They had the merch and they had the origin of the song, and they covered that before the end of the episode. And then they showed the preview of ESPN College Game Day. That was super crazy leading into episode 4. What's crazy about it is they've only done game day at a HBCU once before, and that was years ago, and it was nothing to the level of this. It was the SWAC championship, Jackson State going against Southern, which they're going to cover in the next episode, and it was just people everywhere, and it was just a fantastic moment that I hope is now the norm for HBCUs. Just looking back over the episode, they did a lot of background work on where HBCUs started, where they are, where it could be, and where they want it to go. So that really meant a lot for me as a HBCU alum. It it put light on us, and it was just such a fantastic episode to remember that we still have a long way to go, but we've come a long way, and we got an upward trajectory, we got an upward projection. We just keep on leaning on each other, and people go and get jobs, and that happens, but we know that if we continue to put out the blueprint, we continue to get kids in and do right by them, we'll keep on moving forward. Anyway, until next time.